When Liam turned 18, his grandfather gave him a strange, unexpected coming-of-age gift. He handed him 2 wallets. The first wallet was packed tight with exactly $1,000 in cash. The second one had absolutely nothing inside. But when Liam asked why he was being handed a piece of empty leather, his grandfather smiled and told him that the empty wallet was actually worth more than the full one. Curious? On paper, this makes 0 sense. How can nothing mathematically outvalue a guaranteed $1,000 in your pocket? To figure that out, we have to look at the flaw in how we measure value. Most of us operate on what you could call the windfall model. We see money as a static, finite pile of cash, and its primary purpose is to be consumed right now. Liam proved this perfectly. He treated that $1,000 like a timer counting down. He bought a new phone, picked up designer shoes, and paid for fancy dinners over the course of about 90 days. By the 3rd month, the math caught up with him. Every dollar was gone. He had a few depreciating items sitting in his room, but his actual capital was completely wiped out. Then, a standard dose of reality hit. His car broke down, demanding immediate attention. Take a look at this chart. You have a massive $800 liability sitting right next to his actual remaining asset balance of $47. When you rely on a chunk of cash without putting an underlying financial structure in place, you leave yourself entirely defenseless against basic, inevitable expenses. Desperate, Liam finally looked closely at the second, empty wallet. Tucked inside was a folded note that read, "This wallet fills itself, but only if you feed it first." This note outlines the system model of wealth. True financial security does not come from a lump sum you happen to receive. It comes from having a strict automated allocation for every single dollar you earn. Let's break down how this works. Here is a visual representation of your total paycheck. First, you peel off 20% and assign it strictly to defense. This is your savings, your buffer against those inevitable car repairs. Next, you take 10% and put it on offense. This capital is routed directly into investments, buying you shares of profitable companies. Finally, the remaining 70% fills in as your guilt-free capital. This is what you use to fund your standard daily life, from rent to groceries to entertainment. By forcing your money through this rigid mathematical formula, you immediately stop scrambling in a reactive panic and start proactively building an asset base. But there is a serious psychological friction to this system. In the beginning, it feels agonizingly slow. The progress is completely invisible to the outside world. Liam felt this immediately. While he was carefully dividing his paycheck, his friends were out buying expensive watches and projecting high status. His friends were still trapped in that windfall model. They were financing heavily upgraded cars, taking on monthly payments for depreciating liabilities, just to maintain the appearance of wealth. Liam took the opposite route. He chose to endure the boring phase of wealth creation, quietly acquiring ownership stakes in companies rather than chasing consumer goods. Earnest. Building real wealth requires you to actively ignore social pressure. Acquiring tangible assets is a deeply unglamorous process in the short term, and there is rarely anything flashy to post online about it. Let's jump exactly 5 years into the future and audit the real-world results of these 2 competing strategies. His friends found themselves completely financially trapped. They were stuck making endless monthly payments on items that had either lost all their value or that they didn't even own anymore. Liam, on the other hand, had let the system run. That steady 20% defense allocation had accumulated enough capital to comfortably secure a down payment on a home. And this chart shows what happened to his 10% offense allocation. While his friends dropped below 0 into debt, Liam's investments utilized time to compound. Those shares are now quietly generating new money on his behalf every single day. When you apply the leverage of time to a systematic allocation, what starts as a slow, boring habit turns into a self-sustaining economic engine. Which brings us right back to the grandfather's opening paradox. Which of the 2 wallets actually became richer? The empty one succeeded because it acted as a blueprint for financial discipline, rather than a temporary container for cash. We have this societal myth that the individuals bringing home the highest salaries are automatically the wealthiest, but high income does not equal high net worth. If you look at the actual profile of the rich, they are simply the people who consistently retain a percentage of their earnings and let time do the heavy lifting for them. Stop chasing the quick cash windfall. Adopt the habit of systematic allocation, build a structure for your money, and protect your future.